So when we think about unmanned vehicles, most people think of drones, like this one. And that's not surprising. In the news today, we hear a lot about drone strikes, and particularly in combat situations. Military commanders have always been interested in finding out where the enemy was, what their strength is, whether they're organized and ready, and making determinations about how they should proceed. The first uses of a lot of the military drones were primarily as surveillance and observation platforms. Small drones can be deployed easily in the field, literally by throwing them into the air, as these soldiers do. And once in the air, they can be remotely piloted with a remote control and a direct video feed that they can use to locate the enemy and determine their readiness and strength. Larger drones can operate from standard airfields and can be used to, or designed to be used over long periods of time to loiter over large areas and watch for activity. Though crews that pilot those types of drones typically could be based anywhere in the world. The younger soldiers are particularly good and well prepared for flying these types of drones because they got most of their experience from Xbox University and the School of PlayStation. Drones are also being used to solve problems in the battlefield. The drone on your left is a pocket-sized drone that can fly into buildings, look around corners, look over walls, and try to see where the enemy is in small spaces. The drone on the right is called the T-Hawk and is used by the British Army in counter-IED operations. The T-Hawk was also used at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station after the tsunami caused extensive damage there. Due to the high radiation levels, humans could not operate in large portions of the plant, and so this drone could go where humans could not. Some of these military drones are being repurposed and used inside the United States. The Department of Homeland Security and the Customs and Border Protection Service are using drones like this one to patrol the borders between Canada and Mexico. The use of military drones has raised many legal and ethical questions. Many protest that the drones are used to target people on the ground by remote control, and they're concerned over the casualties to civilians and the collateral damage associated with this. As these military drones are brought back to the U.S. and repurposed for use within our borders, many question the intentions of the government. Policies that determine how military drones are used in foreign lands as well as in our own borders are set by the highest levels of government. Certainly, a larger discussion on these issues should be made, and we hope that that will be the case in the near future. But this isn't really what I'm here to talk about today. I see that the unmanned vehicles and autonomous vehicles can have great benefit to society and in our own world and in cities. The first area that I'd like to talk about is really about public safety. Take firefighting, for example. Firefighters are well-trained, they have lots of experience, and they know when they get to the scene of the fire, they can look at the situation, size up what they're going to do, and start to attack the fire to save lives and property. But what if they had information before they arrived at the scene? An emergency call comes in, a UAV could be dispatched from the fire station, and while the truck is en route, live video coverage could be provided to the firefighters inside the truck. This would provide them with advanced information, and they might also be able to say, oh, we don't have enough people. Let's bring in some more services as well. By having this available to them, they could be prepared prior to arriving on scene to attack the fire. UAVs could also provide various sensors to detect hotspots, to look for flammable or hazardous gases in the air, and to spot people who may need rescue. Most police officers carry car dashboard cams or even body-worn cameras like the West Lafayette Police Department do currently. That provides a lot of information, but it provides it after the fact. In most cases, in an emergency call, it would be better if the officer had information about the situation before they arrived on the scene. Situational awareness is critical in saving lives, and one way to provide that awareness is through the use of unmanned aerial vehicles. If an emergency call comes in, a UAV could be dispatched to the location and provide real-time video back to dispatchers and officers. Additional officers could be sent to the scene if there's a situation and it soon escalates, that they could be prepared by sending enough officers ahead of time. UAVs could also be used in capturing suspects and fugitives. So if you have a bank robbery, for example, and the robbers are speeding away from the bank just as the police come up, UAVs could be used to track the suspects as they're fleeing the scene. UAVs generally cost less than police helicopters do. They're smaller, they're quieter. They can also be used the smaller drones could be used to enter buildings to determine the situation with hostage situations or police standoffs. UAVs could also be used for searching for fugitives or even missing persons. Our road systems have a lot of sensors on them to detect the flow of traffic. Or transportation officials use a lot of this information to determine the traffic volume. We have cameras at key intersections, but for the most part, the road system has no cameras for the complete system. In the event of an accident, most of the time, the 911 dispatcher gets a call, and the only details they receive is typically from the caller. Ideally, we would want to have advanced information about the accident scene so that dispatchers and emergency personnel could send the right resources and send them in the right direction, for example. Natural disasters and disaster relief are another situation in which UAVs could be helpful. Typically, in a natural disaster situation, a large portion of the communication infrastructure is heavily damaged, which makes it difficult to gather and share information and to direct the response. By deploying a UAV over a disaster area, it's possible to gather enough data about what's going on the ground to save lives and property and help a community heal faster. UAVs can provide this information back to the incident command centers so that good decisions can be made. So the military-industrial complex really helped bring about drones in their current form. But I think if we want to bring these technologies to our own use here in cities, we really need to look to the tinkerers, the entrepreneurs, the innovators. And really, this is how they've started. Primarily, they've worked from the maker revolution, if you will. Their tools are typically kits, cheap electronics, 3D software, 3D design software, 3D printers, laser cutters, source code, and a pile of junk from which you can assemble these parts. Today we have kits that are essentially flying platforms driven by software. An application on your mobile device provides enough information to the UAV for it to run an autonomous flight. You merely have to add the payload and sensors to make it do something useful. Not too long ago, most hobbyists were working in their garage building these kits. But today, this industry has really taken off. You can currently buy fully assembled and tested products right now. The transition from the home-built UAV to where we are today has literally only taken about 7 years. In 2012, in the United States, more than 33,000 people died in vehicle accidents. That's a huge number. It's huge, but it's actually declining. A lot of that may be related to vehicle systems providing some safety. We've got airbags, we've got driver assistance, we've got crash avoidance systems now. But even as that number comes down, most of the incidents involving this are related to driver error. So the question is, if we can remove the driver from the situation, can we lower our accident rate? And also, for those who do not have the ability to drive, can we improve their mobility? You've probably heard of the Google self-driving car. This is part of research that's been going on for many years now to bring the self-driving car to reality. There are many challenges still with self-driving cars. Bad weather, poor visibility, road construction, detours, bicyclists, pedestrians, reckless drivers. They're all challenging even for humans. These are problems that self-driving cars have not even been addressed yet. Amazon, DHL, Google, and others are currently looking into delivering products using unmanned aerial vehicles. UAV deliveries could reduce some road congestion, limit greenhouse gases from large trucks, and shorten your delivery time. Amazon continues to build a large number of distribution centers near the populations that it serves. These distribution centers could be used for hubs for UAVs. UAVs can be loaded, instead of a truck, with the product and a flight plan to deliver it. The UAV would leave the distribution center, fly straight to your doorstep, land, leave the product behind, and then fly back to the distribution center for a fresh charge and the next delivery. DHL is currently experimenting with deliveries to a remote island in the North Sea. The parcel copter, as they call it, delivers medicine and runs typically when other forms of transportation are not available. DHL is likely to improve the system rather rapidly because the weather in the North Sea makes flying very challenging. So as these technologies develop, how can we prepare our cities to be ready for them? For aerial vehicles, the Federal Aviation Administration is the protector of the national airspace in the United States, and the FAA's primary mission is safety. There are many concerns about having unmanned aerial vehicles in the air with aircraft, as you no doubt could imagine. The FAA defines unmanned aerial vehicles in three ways: public, civil, and model aircraft. A civil use of a UAV is primarily for research and development, but prohibits commercial use. So you can't actually carry products, people, for hire or compensation. Public use of UAV systems typically is limited to law enforcement, firefighting, search and rescue, and disaster relief. Model aircraft is the designation used for hobbyists and doesn't require any special filing, unlike the other two. Hobbyists are given the opportunity to experiment, but innovators are limited right now because of the prohibition on commercial use. In 2012, Congress directed the FAA to introduce commercial UAV services into the national airspace. So far, we have an interim rule which defines some uses of that, and some applications for commercial UAV use have been approved already. The hope is, with the final rule, there'll be a balance between safety and the introduction of commercial UAV use in the national airspace. This map here shows the states that currently allow driverless vehicles to operate on their roadways: California, Nevada, Michigan, Florida, the District of Columbia. There's still a lot of space on this map that's not filled in yet. And I would also point out that a lot of the states in the middle have very challenging driving conditions. The city of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, has a city ordinance which allows robotics and self-driving cars within city limits. The hope is the city will become a hub for research and development for the robotics industry. But cities are messy places for the safe operation for autonomous vehicles. There are obstructions in the air and on the ground, changes in the environment, and there are people living there. So, as you can see, we've talked about a lot of technologies that could provide great benefit to our cities and to our society. The challenge now is the realization that these technologies are not yet mature. They're still being developed. But hopefully we can find the right balance to allow the safe operation and experimental use of these systems within our own city.